Hello and good morning. Welcome to Matcha Mornings with Diane. I am your host, Diane. I am a dancer, performing artist based in New York City, and welcome to my podcast where I talk about all things mindfulness, life in New York as a performing artist, creativity, art, and everything in between. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to my podcast. Hello, good morning. Welcome to another episode of Matcha Mornings with Diane. It is a blizzard day as I am recording this episode. I feel like I'm in some sort of snow globe, and it really is snowing outside. Like, visibility is pretty much zero at this point, but I'm not mad about it. I do hope that this will be the last snowstorm of the year, of the season, because it is almost March. And, I'm also grateful that we've been having warmer temperatures in New York now. So I would really like to think that we're pretty close to spring. And yeah, I just feel like a lot of exciting things are about to come. So I think that's always such a good indication of how close spring is. And yeah, I'm just feeling excited about what's to come overall. But for today's episode, I am just feeling really vulnerable and open because this is an episode that I have been meaning to record. And the timing right now does feel right. And I feel like there's just a lot that I will be talking about on this episode. And it will be really honest, which probably is the reason why I do feel a little terrified recording this episode right now, because I just know that I will be sharing a lot of honest truths that I haven't really been able to vocalize yet in the past few months. And it just really involves, my relationship with ballet and how that's definitely evolved in the past few months. And I am definitely letting go a lot of things. I am letting go my identity as just a ballerina. I am letting go the version of the dream that I have always dreamt of as a kid. And, that dream was to become a prima ballerina and to be in a prestigious dance company. And, that was still something that I have been pursuing. And that was still something that I actually dreamt of not too long ago. But I think in the past few months, it was just really clear to me that this path that I have been on for so long no longer is true to who I am. And that's why I just felt the need to finally pivot. And that is so scary. That is so scary because for so long, I just felt like I had this certainty that I know that I'm on the right path. It still feels good. I know that there's still so much joy in being able to pursue that path. And in fact, a lot of things were working, a lot of good things, but it just did not feel right anymore. And I think there's a lot of strength in actually choosing to change course, especially when things feel like they're actually working, because I have been improving so much and I still love the work, but I just know that there are so many parts of me. There is a big part of me deep down, a big part of my soul that definitely wants to break free. And I feel like ballet is just too rigid for me at this point. Ballet is just boxing me in. And there are so many parts of me that just want to finally break free, that just finally want to be seen. And I think being able to embrace that is, really a part of my path and my purpose. And so, yeah, I will say that this is me pretty much grieving my identity as the ballerina, as just a dancer, and, grieving the version of me that knew that this was all that I wanted, and grieving the dream that I've had for many years now, that I've had since I was a kid. Let me take my last sip of matcha. I think this is pretty much my letter as well to ballet, because so much of me was built from ballet, from my training in ballet, and it has given me the greatest foundation. It has also given me some of my best traits. It has definitely taught me discipline, perseverance, devotion. And, for that, I will always be grateful to ballet. And that is not to say that I don't love it anymore. In fact, I think I even love it more now. But I am learning to love it and be able to still carry it with me just in my own terms now, and in ways that feel really true to me. And that looks so different from what I have seen, from what I had envisioned. Because, yeah, I am just really embracing that this path truly is mine, and I am choosing to really just explore and embrace the freedom in that. But yeah, it's still scary because it's very uncertain, it's very new, but that doesn't mean that it's not right for me. In fact, I know that this is the path for me. It's just there are still a lot of things that have yet to be revealed in this path forward. There are still a lot of things that I have yet to discover as I move forward with this new path. But I really have ballet to thank for bringing me to where I am right now, because without ballet, I wouldn't be here. Without ballet, I wouldn't have even discovered or even have had like the time and space to reflect and be able to see that my path forward as a dancer, as an artist, looks so different now. And I do want to create a path that is really just mine, and one that feels so true to me, and one that actually really aligns with my bigger purpose. I know that this feels a little scattered. I just don't know how to go about this episode because I still have so much to say. I have so much. I guess I still have like so much to reflect on or really transmute through this grief journey. But again, this is not me completely letting go of ballet. Just like taking this as an opportunity to also remember and still love the version of me who knew that this was all she wanted. And, without her, I wouldn't be where I am right now, and I wouldn't be able to move forward and even pivot. So let's start with how I even got into ballet. I know that this journey sounds so cliche, but I just knew at such a young age that it was really a part of my calling, that ballet was going to be such a big part of my journey as an artist and as a human. I was around 5 years old. I was actually a pretty chubby kid, but I remember vividly when we were in school, we had a year-end program, and we actually got to watch students who were a part of these clubs, and one of the performances was actually a ballet piece because we did have a ballet school in the school that I was going to for academics. And it wasn't even like a big ballet number. I mean, of course, like we were all students, but I think watching that ballet performance just really lit something up in me that I don't know, it just really clicked for me that when I was seeing those little dancers dancing on stage, for some reason, I just saw myself in them. And I knew that I wanted to be like them, that I knew I wanted to perform. I wanted to be able to have that sense of joy and embodiment. And so, yeah, I remember after watching that performance, I just couldn't get it out of my head that I told my mom, just out of nowhere, that I actually want to be a ballerina. I want to dance. And she laughed a little because, again, I was like such a chubby kid. But I think even before that, I already had this love for performing. I grew up with, just like music around me. And I think that is a big reason why I also became a dancer. It's because I just loved music. I loved being able to connect with it and move my body with it. And yeah, I think even before that too, I just remembered my grandfather. He used to have these annual birthday parties where he would gather our extended family and, some of his friends. And of course, being one of the grandchildren, we were asked to perform. And it was something that I was more than willing to do. I had so much fun. And I remember these were performances that I used to actually do with my cousin, and literally we would just like dance to music. We wouldn't even choreograph anything. We literally just had them play any kind of music and we would really just dance. Like, we didn't even give a shit. We didn't give a shit like what we looked like, but we had so much fun doing that. Or at least I knew I was having so much fun. And so I think I knew that I always had this love for performing, this love for music and for dance. And so yeah, I think since then I knew that I wanted to pursue ballet, but it wasn't until I was 10 that I was actually enrolled in a ballet school and a ballet program because, yeah, I think my mom definitely wanted me to try different things first. She actually enrolled me in a hip hop class for a summer, and yeah, I liked it, but for some reason it didn't feel authentic to me. I enjoyed it, but it just didn't feel like it was me. But I think eventually when I slimmed out a little and I told her like 5 years later this is still something I want to do. I think she finally gave in and realized just how much I wanted it, and I think she also just wanted me to start ballet from a place where I actually understood it better and that I'm not doing it just for the sake of pleasing someone or for the sake of being liked more, that it was actually something that I truly wanted. And I think that's something that you don't really realize until you're a little older. So, yeah, even though I started, I guess, a little quote unquote late, because in ballet, 10 years old is still considered late, which to me now that sounds pretty outdated because there are a lot of people, a lot of professional dancers, amazing professional dancers who started even later than that. But yeah, I think for me too, even though it was such a big insecurity of mine for many years, because, like my ballet teachers kind of didn't hide the fact that I was a little quote unquote late to the game, that it felt like I was chasing this clock that I had to make up for lost time. Like they never failed to remind me of that. And so, yeah, there was definitely a part of me that felt insecure about that. But thinking back now, I'm actually grateful that I started at that age and it all was meant to happen in perfect time. Because, yeah, I think since then, when I started, I just never stopped. And I just knew that I loved it so much because I remember after my very first ballet class, I just knew that I wanted to keep doing it. I didn't want to stop. I still danced when I was at home. And yeah, the rest was just history from there. I just loved the work so much. I loved being able to express myself in a way that I didn't really have yet back then. I didn't have like that space and opportunity. And growing up in an Asian household where, we don't necessarily talk about our emotions as much, I just knew I needed an outlet. And I knew that I was such a sensitive gal. And so for me, ballet was really that safe space for me to be truly who I am and to be able to express all of my emotion through movement and music. It was really my sanctuary. And it was where I felt myself the most. And so, yeah, for that, I will always be grateful. And it has definitely taught me so much about, devotion, because truly that's what I was for many years. I was just so devoted to the art form and I knew that I just loved it so much. I couldn't stop doing it and I just found so much joy in it. Of course, there were many challenges, but those were just challenges that I was more than willing to face, and I knew that those challenges were just going to make me stronger. And those challenges just made me a lot more resilient, not just in pursuing the art form as a profession, but in life even. I think ballet really just gave me the resilience and the confidence that I needed to really embrace who I truly am. Because even at such a young age, too, I just knew in school, I was never really that girl who felt like she belonged or actually fit in. And yeah, there were many instances that I felt like I had to fit in, but ballet taught me what it's like to truly own who I am and embrace who I am. And for that, I will be forever grateful. But fast forward to now, I just really started to feel like ballet wasn't that for me anymore. I still love it, but in the past few months, I have definitely discovered that at least like the ballet company and the dance company route and just like the structured way of how things are in the ballet industry, they no longer align with who I am, with my purpose, because I do know that there is a big part of me that wants to break free from the archaic beliefs and traditions of the classical ballet world. And knowing me, knowing that I was never meant to fit in, I just started to feel like classical ballet was actually just suffocating me, that I was not happy anymore in some ways. Like, yes, I was still finding so much joy in the process. And, I think the joy just really came from the fact that I was bettering my craft. It came from, knowing that I was still improving so much, and so much of the systems that I have built for myself in the past few years, but more so in the past year and a half, have been working. It just doesn't feel true to me anymore. And that was very confronting to me. And it was hard for me to also, I guess, somewhat accept that my path will look different from here on out. And yeah, of course, I knew that there was also a part of me that will have to grieve this chapter. And yeah, I still am grieving that chapter, and I feel like it will still take a while, but I truly am just happy with how I am choosing to move forward now, because I know that as much as I love ballet, it is no longer my entire identity like it used to be. It is a part of me, but it is not all of me. And so, yeah, I think a big part of stepping into this new chapter of freelance dancing, this new chapter of seeing myself as not just a dancer, but as an artist, I am learning how to actually approach life and my craft and my journey as an artist differently now, which is amazing, which is also exciting. But yeah, there's also a part of me that is still grieving what I had originally envisioned, what I have always dreamt of as a kid. And, in many ways, I feel like I am disappointing my younger self. I am disappointing my mom because before she went into a coma, it was still, like such a big dream for me that I really had this tunnel vision that I knew that I still wanted to pursue ballet specifically. But now I'm just like learning how to be more open with how that unfolds now, and be a lot more expansive, and really just allow myself to expand. On top of that, I also just know that even logically, I'm already 29, and with ballet being definitely the hardest, I would say the hardest genre of dance, I just know that my trajectory, or even really pursuing that path of being in a dance company, it just doesn't make sense for me anymore. I feel like the sacrifices that I have to make and what I will gain from them, they just no longer align with what I truly want. And this vision, this newfound vision that I have, and this newfound purpose that I have, because I do believe that there's so much more of myself that deserves to be set free. I just felt like I was being shackled. As harsh as that sounds, I felt like in the last few months of my constant training in classical ballet, it was just really being revealed to me just how restricted I felt, because there were many instances that I just felt like I had to shrink myself in order to fulfill this dream, in order to fit the stereotypical, like, classical ballet dancer, or the type of path that a ballet dancer should pursue. And that did not feel good to me anymore, because it felt so performative. It was no longer authentic to me. And I think growing up training in other styles as well, I just knew that there were so many parts of me that wanted to be seen again, that wanted to have that freedom to continue exploring and to actually embrace who I really am and take ownership of my path as a dancer and as an artist, and embracing just how unique it is. Even though I know that maybe so many people are thinking and looking at my path and how I'm approaching it now as like something so different and weird and just really outside of the norm. But hey, like that's the thing. When you create something that's truly yours, you will definitely ruffle a lot of feathers, and you just have to be okay with that. And you know what? I was like, well, I was capable of pursuing ballet with such a tunnel vision that I just have no doubt that pivoting and creating this more expansive path to myself, I am more than capable of doing that. I am more than resilient. I am disciplined, and I am devoted to the path that I just know that I will be okay. And I know that there are only great things ahead of me. And I know that great things will come from this. And yeah, it may not look like what I had hoped it would. It may not have unfolded in the way that I wanted and what was expected of me. But I do know for sure that the only way to achieve success, the kind of success that I truly want, is to go down a path and pursue and be on this journey that feels really true to me and to my purpose, because I know for a fact that my purpose is not just for me, it is for the greater good. And I know that that will continue to evolve. And so I know that it will not only serve me, but the greater good to actually allow myself to expand. And that is a scary thing when you've been used to certain things and when you've gotten so comfortable with how things were, and when you've gotten so comfortable with the structures that have been built for the industry for many, many years. And yeah, sometimes I still miss that comfort. Sometimes I still have those days where I'm just like, am I doing this right? Like, should I just go back? Because, I just need someone to give me that structure. But at the same time, I know for myself that this is not true to who I am anymore. And I am just learning how to live and go down this path that is still so uncertain and that is so uniquely mine. And I am just learning how to take ownership of that. And I know that embracing this new path will just give me another level of self trust and self belief. But that will require so much vulnerability and so much of messing up, which I feel like I did not have the room to do that anymore in classical ballet, because everything was just so structured. And I know for some people, like, that is who they think they truly are anyway, and it just really works for them. But I know that for me, that is not me anymore. And I even had the time to reflect that, oh yeah, like now that I think about it, I feel like getting into a dance company truly isn't meant for me, for someone who felt like she never fit in and someone who didn't want too much structure in her life. And, for someone who just really wanted a lot more freedom and expansion and space to really follow my joy and curiosity, that, yeah, I was like, okay, actually, being in a ballet company, while there's so much prestige in that, while there's so much, I guess I would say, safety, because you're given the structure, um, and in many ways you're like, okay, I'm actually being paid to do this anyway. Like, the least I can do is just really show up, and I love the work anyway. But at the same time, I was like, okay, like this is too structured for me, because it does feel like working for a corporation. And technically, you are. And I knew, like, in my early years in college, that I was just not fit for the corporate world, because I've had like a number of internships, and while I loved doing the work, I think there was just like something about the corporate structure that did not work well for me, that did not resonate with me, because I just felt like I had to do more. I just knew that my energy needed a lot more breathing room, and a lot more expansion, and a lot more space to just really explore and experiment. And the corporate structure just doesn't fit what I truly want and truly need as a human, and as someone who has a soul that feels like she really needs to do something that is so purposeful. And so, yeah, I think now that I think back, I was like, okay, yeah, this feels like the corporate route. And I know myself enough that, you know, being in that kind of structure will not serve me in the long run. And I just know that I am so much more than just a ballerina. And yeah, it's so funny, because in my last few months of, like, I guess I would call it the ballet boot camp now. In my last few months in the ballet boot camp, I was just constantly being told, like, oh, that's just not how it works in the ballet world. Like, I was really being told to shrink myself, that, you're not allowed to do this, you're not allowed to do that. And I just felt like I wasn't dancing in my own terms anymore, which really was suffocating. And I even got this comment that, my mannerisms are too wild for the ballet world. And so for me, like, I really saw that as a signal and a sign from the universe that, hey, it's time. It's time to pivot. And I have been feeling that in my gut for so long. And I think my gut was just waiting for me to finally take a chance and really pursue a different path, pursue freelance dance, and actually explore who I am as not just a dancer, but as an artist and a human being, and not making dance my whole goddamn identity. And yeah, I feel like, having that approach now, I also just feel a lot more energized and a lot more honest and authentic when I dance now, because I am not making it my whole identity. I am taking a bit of pressure off of myself so that I can actually show up as authentically as I can, because I think we forget that as artists, we actually are humans first. And so much of our work also requires us to be so vulnerable, and we cannot be vulnerable and we cannot connect with other people through our art if we don't actually lean into our humanity. And for me, that was just like one of the things too that I can no longer stand by in at least the very traditional ballet world, because I feel like you are still treated as like this machine. And while, many people still see that as devotion, and I still see that as devotion and something that I truly, truly respect, I just know that is not a fulfilling path for me anymore. And I am also loving that a lot more successful principal dancers are also speaking up on this now, that in order to actually survive and be able to have a sustainable career in dance, and honestly in anything, you have to learn how to also set boundaries, and you have to learn how to be able to take a step back from your work and from your craft every now and then and not take it so seriously. And I think that's what it felt like for me in the last few weeks of, I guess, like my ballet boot camp era, was that everything was just so serious. It became like a matter of life and death when truly it wasn't. But it was just putting me in this resistant mode, and I don't want to feel that way. Art is meant to breathe and flow, and I want to be able to, approach my art with a lot more softness. And, I think a lot of creativity really thrives in the divine feminine, and that requires a lot of softness and, maybe a little less rigidity, like a little less rigidity. And yeah, for me, ballet was just becoming a little too rigid, and that is why I decided to finally pivot. And now I feel like I can breathe, because art is supposed to breathe. Like, art is supposed to be living. And a big part of becoming an artist is really living life, experiencing life outside of your work. And I do know that, sometimes the best thing that I can do is really step away from my craft for a bit and experience life outside of it, because the more that I can experience life as a human being, I feel like that also just makes my work as an artist a lot richer, because I have experiences to pull from now, and a lot of experiences that inspire me to create something that people will also be able to connect with, and for me to also be able to create from a place of so much truth and just like an overflow of, I guess, like this divine energy and creativity, and just, like this want to share it to the world, and for a purpose much bigger than myself. So, yeah, I mean, I think this path that I'm on, I really am excited to see where it goes, but there's also still a part of me that is still grieving my identity as a ballerina. And I am not saying goodbye. I am not completely letting go of ballet. I think I am just letting go of the fact that it will no longer be the thing that dominates my life. Like, it will no longer be my sole focus. And I think to me, that's even more exciting, because I get to do it on my own terms now. And yeah, I know that ballet will always, always be a part of me. In fact, whenever I do a dance freestyle and, whenever I improv, I do know there's still so many ballet elements that just move through me, like when I start moving to any piece of music. It will always be a part of me. But I think now it's just like really discovering who I am beyond just the technique, and really focus more on my artistry, focusing more on, yeah, who I am as an artist versus just like the technique and the foundation. And for me, that is a little scary right now. Again, it's still a little scary because I'm so used to it, but I'm also letting go of my hyper perfectionist self, excuse me, my hyper perfectionist self, because as much as it's also a good trait to have that I truly am so meticulous, I am letting go of my hyper perfectionist self so that I can continue to explore, so that I can continue to be curious and allow myself to actually make mistakes and progress. Because I feel like, like that's the paradox of it. I feel like when you're so ruled by perfectionism, you really are just restricting yourself. You are containing yourself so much that you're not giving yourself the space to discover something new. And that's why they say like perfectionism kills progress. And yeah, I think I just have like this new mindset now too, that knowing that as long as I'm taking action and, I'm putting in the work, it doesn't matter like how much I stumble, no matter how much I fail, because I will still get there. Like hard work will still pay off. And that is something that ballet has taught me. And that, yeah, like every failure just brings me closer to a bigger vision. Like it just brings me closer to the things that I truly want, or even something better than I had originally envisioned. And that that has been like my journey of really getting here and getting that clarity of knowing that, yeah, I think the freelance route truly is the one that's meant for me. And, I think I just feel truly, truly, that I just feel like really grateful and excited to be going down a different path now. Like, even though it's so new, I just know like with anything new, with any kind of change, like there's just a lot of good things that are about to happen. And especially when things are aligned, you cannot go wrong. You cannot go wrong. And what's meant for me, I know that I will not miss. And so, yeah, I think instead of seeing this as some sort of failure, I am seeing this as a success because it takes so much strength to really change course, especially when things are actually working. But again, if it doesn't feel true, when it feels performative, I think that's when things just really feel misaligned. And, getting to your goals from that kind of disposition just doesn't feel great. Like success won't feel so great if the journey doesn't feel as truthful and as authentic. And so, yeah, as much as it's scary still right now, and life will always be a journey filled with changes, I know that. I also just know that only good things can come from remembering who I am and staying true to who I am and chasing alignment versus like the hustle and what I think things should be or what people expect of me. That truly I will be only successful if I pursue a path that is truly mine and I create a path and a life that truly feels like it is mine and serving my higher purpose, and being able to do something that makes me feel so connected to the divine, to God, because I know that is truly my purpose as an artist. It is really just to be a vessel for the higher good and, the divine. And yeah, I think for me, taking this pivot and embracing this new chapter is allowing me to do just that. And yeah, you know what? I do know that I will go back to ballet at some point. Honestly, I think sooner than I expect. I mean, I even have pairs of point shoes still that are ready to be used. Like I have already sewn the ribbons and elastics. And, I'm really excited to get back into it and actually approach ballet now from a very different mindset and perspective and approach because it really feels like it is me. And you know what? Like, I'm also just excited to be able to fuse ballet into the different genres of dance that I continue to train in and expose myself to. And yeah, just seeing it as a part of my journey as an artist and really just finding who I am and discovering who I am as an artist. And yeah, I just know that I'll be able to really approach ballet now from a place of really just pure joy and curiosity. And again, just in my own terms. And that is so freeing. And that is such a relief for me. But yeah, this is now what my journey looks like. And I'm excited to see how it unfolds, especially in the next few months. I am still a little terrified, obviously, but with anything new, it is definitely a little terrifying. But hey, I think that's what makes this like such a fulfilling journey is doing it anyway, even though it is a little terrifying. I think that is something that ballet also taught me is that, like your goals do have to be a little big. And, that only means that you are on the right path if it actually terrifies you, because it means that you actually truly care about what you're doing, that you truly care about your path and how you actually are walking this path forward. It just means that you truly care. And yeah, sometimes I also just try to reframe that fear now as excitement and knowing that I just have so much love to pour now. And, I'm excited to see how this all unfolds, even though it's so uncertain. I just know that this will be great. And the only thing that I have to keep in check as I move forward is to remember if this still feels true to me and if I feel like this still serves the higher good, it serves my highest self and my purpose. And yeah, I do not need to know how that specifically looks like. I do not need to know every step of the way. I just have to trust that, by taking any type of action and really just following my curiosity and joy, I will get there. I will get there because I still am putting the work. I'm putting in the work still. A lot of this new chapter is requiring so much of my trust and really embracing that freedom now, seeing where ballet can still be a part of it. I know that it will still be, but it will not be the only thing that is in my journey, which for me really is an exciting thing because it's new. And yeah, it really is just a path that has so much room for me to expand and grow now. And yeah, that's freeing. That's so freeing. And, now I feel like I actually have my wings back. I feel like I can fly. And I do know that, with the discipline and the resilience and perseverance that I have learned from ballet, I will be able to still carry those with me in this new chapter and moving forward with this new path. So, yeah, I am grateful. I am always going to be grateful for Ballet. I will always have so much respect, but now it's just time for me to go down a different path, a slightly different path. But I also am learning to see that just because that dream didn't come to fruition in the way that I expected or in the way that even others have expected of me, it doesn't mean that I failed. It's still a stepping stone. And I do know that eventually it will make sense as to why this was how it all unfolded in my journey, that it was no accident. And I knew that everything, everything in my journey just really is serving me and pushing me forward towards a bigger vision. And so, yeah, I hope that this resonated with you in some way, especially if you feel like you are at some sort of crossroads and you feel like you just don't know the path forward and there's just a lot of uncertainty. And I feel like this whole pivot too is reminding me and is strengthening my relationship with uncertainty in general, because I feel like control is always just going to be an illusion, because you know that saying that um you make plans and God just laughs. And I think for me that is something that I have had to outgrow, like from my ballet identity, is actually learning how to lose control every now and then. And yeah, being okay with that and knowing that there's only so much that I can control, that there's no use in trying to control everything, because one way or another, I feel like the universe or God will just put me down a path that is so different from what I had originally envisioned or planned. So there's no use in trying to control every single thing, because truly we can't control everything. And that's also such a great thing, because that also just means that it's not all on you. And yeah, I think so long as you are honoring your truth and honoring what feels true to you, what feels authentic to you, you will be okay. And eventually things will just unfold and things will feel a lot more certain. Things will definitely seem like they really are working out for you, even if you can't see it yet. And yeah, life is just not exciting when everything is too certain. Like that's also what I'm learning. I'm like, oh yeah, when I, it's like spoiling yourself of the ending of a movie or a TV series. Like we're not meant to know every single thing, and that's also a beautiful thing, to not know everything, because that is when just everything like starts to line up, and that's when life really truly surprises us, and who doesn't love a good surprise? So yeah, I know that this episode might feel a little scattered. Like honestly, right now I'm just like, did anything that I say make any sort of sense? But yeah, like I just know that I spoke my truth, and I will always love ballet, even though I am not pursuing it anymore as a profession, even though I am not pursuing it in a way that I thought I have always wanted, that my younger self wanted. But I still find so much comfort in the fact that, there's nothing better than really honoring your truth and owning your path, whatever that looks like, and being able to embrace that and walk down that path, even if it's a path that you have never seen before. It takes a lot of courage, but it is so worth it. So, yeah, I think that is just something that I truly am reminding myself of right now as I walk down this new path and enter this new chapter, that truly the only thing that I have to constantly keep in check is to ask myself whether this feels true to me or not, whether this feels like it is serving the higher good and is serving my highest self, and that I truly am staying true to who I truly am and not just who I think I should be and not who people expect me to be. Just really taking ownership of my life and how I want to create it and how I want to move forward. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and thank you so much for your continued support. I really am grateful that you guys are also allowing me to be witnessed as I continue down this path that I truly am so uncertain of, but I do know that exciting things are coming. And if you're in a similar position, I know that it's scary, but move forward anyway. Do it anyway. And the best things just really come from going for it and giving it your all, even if it's scary. I do have faith that it will only bring good things. Thank you so much, and I hope that you have a lovely day.